All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the eighth episode of the second edition of this SCM Talk Show. As you know, we have this talk show every fortnight. Last one we had was on 19th June, but now we are going to launch the third edition. So, as far as the second edition is concerned, this is going to be the final and last SCM Talk Show. So, we will be back after some time, after a break. And of course, we'll keep you informed when third edition starts. As you know, the topics that we choose, in this SCM talk show depends on your feedback as well as availability of the speakers, both. So as usual, as Nistur said, the session will be recorded and made available for free on Novux mobile app as well as Novux YouTube channel. So right now we are putting everyone in listen only mode. If you have any questions during our talk, please type in that question in the chat box and we will take some of the questions at the end depending on the availability of the time. So to begin this talk show, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Zakir Mullah, who is Head of Corporate Sustainability Division at the Hindustan Petroleum Corporation Limited. We all popularly know it as HPCL. And he completed his BTech and MTech from very prestigious, I would say illustrious institute, Indian Institute of Engineering, Science, Technology, Shibpur. And many of you probably know this institute as Bengal Engineering College. It's one of the very oldest engineering colleges in India. After his BTech and MTech, I mean, like me, I did my BTech and MTech in mechanical. He he actually did his PhD in management and specialized on CSR, corporate social responsibility, from University of Kolkata, from University of Calcutta. And he has published several papers in various journals of international repute. In addition, he holds many other certifications and membership of several prestigious associations. He has the leadership experience in various strategic business unit, including fuel operations, LPG projects, engineering and projects, vigilance, so you name it, marketing, sales, as regional head of metro region, rural region, corporate social responsibility and corporate sustainability for about 36 years now. So at present, he is driving the sustainability agenda of corporation by promoting sustainability development concepts among stakeholders, integrating sustainability development objectives in business plan, monitoring and optimizing natural resources utilization, embracing clean technology, strive to reduce carbon footprint, and providing clean, healthy, and safe environment for stakeholders and other ESG. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance parameters. So he speaks at the various national and international forums and is assessor and trainer on this topic of sustainability. I mean, you will not find many people who can talk on this subject, and he's one of the few. So Zakir, it's pleasure to have you as a speaker on this talk show. Welcome to this talk show.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you very much for inviting me for this talk show.
Before
we begin, let me first wish you and your team and all the people who are connected a very happy and healthy time ahead. Let me also tell that all of our views that will be expressing, that will be totally my personal and will be nothing to do with my organizations. So I'm open to any questions if you have on sustainability, particularly on sustainability, management, sustainability change. So that's it.
Thank you. So it's actually our pleasure to see you here on this platform. And as all of us know that today's topic is sustainability, and it's a very interesting topic. I think great interesting topic for young professional and very, I would say, futuristic topic. So what we are doing today and is going to be really what the future is there for. So I would ask, first question is to Zakir, what is sustainability, supply chain sustainability from your perspective?
Yeah, the question is very easy, but the answer is really complex. As I attempt to answer your questions, one thing come to my mind. I think in 2006, one Dalsud, he was trying to find out the meaning of corporate social responsibility. See, this sustainability or CSR, these are ubiquitous terms used everywhere. But what is the exact meaning of that? Dalsud tried to understand that, and he published a paper. And there he mentioned that it has 37 meanings. CSR has 37 meanings. Then when the paper was sent to the peer review, the peer thought that it is totally underestimated. The figure is underestimated. So that is a kind of confusion that people have about these terms. So sustainability is also one about that. I am not particularly aware whether we have any study on sustainability, any research paper, what it exactly means. But still, I can say that it is everywhere. Wherever we talk, sustainability is everywhere. But there also, we may have a different little perspective of that about sustainability. And talking about supply chain sustainability, that is again very simple, but again complex in many ways. I'll give you a simple example. Like all of you may be knowing that as per SEBI guidelines, top 1,000 corporates in India, they are supposed to publish their business responsibility report. And this is published based on the NBG guidelines of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So there, this is also based on 9 principles. The second principle of that is asking business that how they are taking care for their products and services to ensure that the products contribute to the sustainability throughout their life. So in there also there is a question. The question is, does the company have procedures in place for sustainable sourcing? The question is simple. Does the company have procedures in place for sustainable sourcing? And believe me, I have reviewed many bearer of the top 1,000 companies in the country, and they have given different answer for that. Some organizations, very top organizations, they have mentioned that we have a very steady supply of products. So they mean that sustainability supply chain means their product line supply is totally assured. So that is what their meaning is. They may be interested in that. Particularly the shareholder may be interested in that. But the other stakeholders are not really interested that their supply is intact. What they are interested is the supply chain whom you are touching the lives, whether you are taking enough care in those areas to take care of the sustainability initiative. Now again, sustainability supply chain, United Nations has given a very good definition, which is in sync with the United Nations Global Compact. There are 10 principles under 4 pillars of environment, human rights, labor, as well as the anti-corruption. So these 4 are the total 4 pillars of sustainability, which should be maintained in the entire sustainability value chain. So if any of these, now we tend to mean that sustainability means only environmental sustainability, but actually that is only part of that. So to me, the definition of UNGC, United Nations Global Compact, that these all the 4 pillars of sustainability should be there in the sustainable supply chain. I also agree that that is the meaning. I also feel that should be followed in all aspects of business.
Thank you so much for your answer. Very wonderful answer actually. So I also want to know in India, what is the level of awareness? I may be wrong, but even though we people and the industries know the harm that we are causing to the environment and the society, so on, but our attitude, Chalta attitude is taking precedence over our selfish motives.
Yeah.
So what is your view on that?
See, the business is always caught in the dilemma of 3 things. One is the trade-off between economic growth and environmental impact. Another trade-off is between profitability and ethical standards. And third one is between health and safety of workers and cheap products. So these are the dilemma that business leaders are always engaged with. So once they have that, they try to find out all the possible response to that, to suit to that requirement that helps them to go for this, options one that they are pursuing. So they will always say this, climate change, okay, environmental thing, that really doesn't exist. Even if it exists, it is minimum. Okay, even if it is minimum, that is not, we are not going to be affected by that. Okay, if that is also there, let us benefit out of that. Some dealers of business also will say, okay, this is the time, let us forget about this, let us concentrate on our business. So it really, we do not take a real value of that. Even if you see in our own life, we don't think about our grandparent, children. So we think about immediate our offsprings, maybe our children, even grandchildren, very little. But what happens to grandchildren, we are not bothered in our personal life also. So business is also is immediate gain. So that benefits that always take, that I have to show my results, otherwise I cannot walk up. So chalta hua, even if the person, let's say, is not interested, the business requirement does that, because the investors in the business, the shareholders of the business, they're expecting for a quick gains.
So I'm sure all the businesses are under that kind of pressure, all the time. So do we have a business case for sustainability? Do we, do we really have a business case? Why should we have sustainability?
Yes, that is actually one of the very good questions. The sustainability, once sustainable supply chain, what we are expected to it, that all business needs to understand one thing: what is the purpose of the business? Value-driven business or purpose-driven business. So now business is driven for the purpose of taking care of the stakeholders. Business, even if business is not a profit-making institution, it is a social structure to give justice to the requirement of the people who inhabit there or other flora fauna. So all stakeholders need to give benefit out of that. If a particular section of the stakeholders are getting benefited and others not, that business will not survive. Old days, maybe more than 5 decades ago, the business were driven by only shareholders. But now the stakeholders concept started coming in, because stakeholders concept is not fallible, whereas shareholders concept is fallible. Stakeholders capitalism is also fallible. So once you know that the business survival of business is depending on the expectation of the stakeholders, so we have to first understand who are our stakeholders, what is their expectation. Once we know that, then we need to manage our stakeholders. If we manage and engage with our stakeholders, then we are able to deliver what they're expecting. So now over the years, if you see in last 3 years, the activists, the governments, the customers, the investors, all are become totally oriented towards ESG, environment, social, and governance. So if the stakeholders are not taken care of, you are creating a risk. So the business needs to mitigate the risk. So adopting a green path of managing the supply chain is, in other way, is identifying your risk and mitigate that. And if you see various aspects of sustainability, then that gives also an area of efficiency increases. You reduce energy consumption, you reduce water consumption, you get energy. It also gives an opportunity to innovate and create new product and healthy and safe product for environment. So it is a business case. If you create a ESG strategy, if you create your supply chain sustainability in proper perspective, you are mitigating the risk coming from the stakeholder, you are improving your productivity, you are enhancing your productivity by reducing your cost, you are making profits, and also you are strengthening your business processes, you are creating better products. So you are taking care of holistic view of your entire supply chain and the product life cycle also. So it is a business case, of course.
So I think it synchronizes very well with the thought of lean. If you can produce more with lesser amount of resources, whether be it energy, water, electricity, whatever that is, okay.
Yes.
Even the material and the low wastage, I think your cost is also not going down, and at the same time you are sustainable also. Yeah. But then why it is more challenging for business leader? Why it is important as well as more challenging for business leader?
Yes, it is very, very challenging for business leaders, because supply chain sustainability is very complex. It is a multi-dimensional, multi-locational. It is very easy for a business leader to take care of his own fence. Activity within the fence is very easy. Doing things at home is very, very easy. I can do things at my factory at my own will. But if I have to ensure that I source a product from an organization who are also aligned to sustainability, that is a bigger challenge. Now the stakeholders are expecting that from the businesses also, because business produces approximately 10% of total impact to the environment, but the supply chain create around 80 to 90%. It is almost 5 times. So we need to mitigate that in the supply chain. So, but supply chain is scattered. There is no transparency. I do not know. I am not able to trace my supplier, neither my product at the end. If a product is sold, what is happening after the end use of the product? After the product ends its life, we are not checking that. But that is also a potential to damage the environment. The water, it can damage the water, it can damage the surface soil, and it can flora, fauna, everything it can damage. So that responsibility has to have there. So sustainable supply chain insists that the business also rise up and they take care of the entire value chain and entire life cycle of their products.
Absolutely.
So that is why it is challenging.
Yes, actually really very challenging. Supply chains are complex and getting more and more complex in the world. Actually, it's not going to getting easy, becoming more complex. I think some of the items are traveling, I think thousands and thousands of kilometers, before they are in the hands of the consumer. So, actually, when I met you first time and I saw your visiting card, this was the first time I saw somebody who is the head of sustainability in an organization, and you are the divisional head of that. Do you have other such organizations in India which are, aware about sustainability and focus on sustainability efforts? I'm not sure whether I know that, but are you aware about?
Yeah, we very happy to share that we have produced person like Jamshedji, who has given 102 trillion over last century and become the largest philanthropy in the world. So we have seen people, the leaders like that in our own country. So Tata Group has been doing a great work not only in the corporate sustainability as well as in the corporate social responsibility. Some similar examples are there everywhere. There are many that we can give. Even Mahindra is doing a great work in the area of sustainability. Anand Mahindra himself has been from Davos, and all his groups are doing well. Wipro is also doing well. Infosys has already become carbon neutral. Then other aspects, even some of the other companies, even Godrej is doing great work. Godrej with CII, they are doing great work. So we are not far behind. But then we have other challenges. We are still depending on mode of coal, mode of oil, and we have not been able to migrate to the next generation technology. But nevertheless, we have people, we have organizations, we have leadership who have shown us path which are ahead of time actually.
Very happy to know that. Very happy to know that there are leaders. I heard about Mahindra, the Igatpuri plant, they became carbon neutral. So what are the challenges, in fact, when greening the supply chain, and how it is possible to mitigate them?
Green supply chain, again, green supply chain will be difficult, of course, because it is not only there are many parts of that. One of the aspects is the sourcing, like for oil companies, sourcing of crude maybe from various distance plant. So there, what is happening there, we do not know. Whether there human right violation is happening, we do not know. Whether there are equal payment is happening, we do not know. Whether there is equity, social justice, whether there is other perspective of life, whether there is corruption that is happening, we have no control on that. But greening has to start from sourcing, because sourcing also contributes a greater part of that. Then logistic, transportations. We are still not using the best. Like oil company, I can say my company, we are transporting 52% of our total sales volume through pipeline. So pipeline is a safer mode. It is a cheapest mode. Pipeline, then rail, then pipeline, then sea, then rail, then road. There's a cheaper option. So we have been migrating from road to rail to sea to pipeline. So this is transportation logistics. Then what happens in your shop, that is another aspect. That greening, even if it is. Then logistic, delivering every value chain. So there also the challenges is there. Then what happens to your product? Now many organizations, if you see international bidders, they are looking for product life cycle assessment. Whether you have carried out life cycle assessment of your product, that stands a good chance for tender participation. Like for even aviation fuel also, they are insisting on that. So this greening of supply chain is that way, again, very, very complex, like the entire supply chain processes.
So looks like a tough journey. So can you share your journey of sustainability, how you started, where you started, the entire journey of yours?
See, we are in the oil sector. We know that oil contributes to the national development, GDP growth, and overall ameliorating the poverty of people. So we know that we have a bigger role to play in development of the country, more so in a time when we are looking for an economic breakthrough. That time the energy sector has to play a pivotal role. But we are also concerned about the other effects that our business can do. So being aware of that, we have been taking various initiatives. If you see in last 20 years, in 2000, the MS petrol sold in India was having a ppm, sulfur ppm of 2000, and HSD was a sulfur ppm of 10,000. Now, in 1st April this year, it has become only 10 ppm. So in 20 years, we have changed our entire system. The refineries have changed. The modernization has been, every time we are doing crores of rupees is being spent for product upgradation. So that is the way we have leapfrogged. Many countries in the world, they have not gone from BS4 to BS6 directly. We have gone from BS4 to BS6 directly to give better product to the countrymen. We are also concerned. So pipeline transportation is increased. We are going into the other sources of ethanol dosing is that. So now government of India has decided that by 2022 we'll go for 20% dosing. So now it is 10% dosing. Then we are going for CBG. Then we are going for LNG. So these are other areas where we are continuously trying to upgrade ourselves to meet the requirement of that. In terms of recording and reporting, we have been doing it for last. We have already published our 9th sustainability report, and those sustainability reports are based on the global report GRI. We have been following GRI instead, and we are one of the few companies where these sustainability reports are being assessed by third party. Bureau Veritas is always assessing our report. So the contents of the report, it is like fairy tale. People can write anything, but the authenticity of that is created when it is assessed. So our reports are always assessed. So that way, our journey is pretty old. Another way, by virtue of being in PSC, we have been always conscious. Government is also in sync with what we do. We do a lot of social activity in the area of CSR. We not only had 2% of what last 3 years profit, we spend more than what it is expected. And we also, Prime Minister has run a PMUI, Prime Minister Ujjwala Yojana. If you know, more than 8 crore connections have been given. This uplifts the poor people in the rural area. So it helps them by improving their health, and it also reduces the stress on the firewood, and effectively means your forest is safe that way. So these are some of the initiatives that we are doing, and we have been always trying to create our materiality. Materiality is again aspects which is important not only for business but all stakeholders. So that is also, materiality aspects are also created, and all the reportings are based on materiality. We want to know what people are interested to learn from us, to know from us. So the business has to not only identify what they do. Business has not only identify their strategy, they have to identify their risk and the mitigation method, as well as their commitments in working in that area. If you don't show commitments, then what you have done becomes useless. So even the ESG rating system, what is coming, even if you say I want to achieve 0 accident targets, those are not accepted. You should have a measurable, achievable targets. So that way we are into this. We are doing sustainability in that way. This is what has been our journey, but the journey has only started. We have miles to go before we sleep.
So in fact, I was going to ask this question to you because our curriculum in APICS also covers sustainability, where we cover US Global Compact, we cover GRI reporting, we cover all of that, and we cover some of the certification programs that they have, like ISO certifications and so on. So I was in fact going to ask you this question: do you produce reports, and how frequency? Whether you produce it for internal usage or do you also produce for external usage? I was going to ask that question. In fact,
yeah. In India, you know that reportings are happening mandatory as well as voluntary, like any other countries. So mandatory reportings, one is annual report. What happens? Annual report also is having a lot of reportings in the area of ESG. Then business responsibility report, which has come, that is there, which is going for a change now. Business responsibility report will become business responsibility and sustainability report, and it will be mandatory from 22-23. So we have another 1 year breather time. It is much more complex, much more detailed. So once BRSR is published, there may not be much need to have a sustainability report, because it will, a great deal of things will be covered in that. So that will become mandatory. So in voluntary, we are publishing GRI with sustainability reports, and that is also assessed. So apart from that, there are a lot of communication that happens between us and stakeholders. Okay, various narratives that happen based on our commitments and our performance. Those also acts as a fulcrum of creating relationship with the stakeholders.
Excellent. So, I mean, I'm happy to see, happy to hear from actual, practitioners, we've been studying and reading a lot. So now my question is, now that companies are related to various agencies, they're rated by various agencies for benefit like ISO, and there are auditors and so on and so forth for the stakeholder, particularly investing fraternity. So a lot of interest also is there in, shareholders about sustainability, the interest is there. Yeah. How it is related to environment, social, governance rating of the organization, how supply chain sustainability is related?
It's a very, very pertinent question you have asked. It is actually talk of the town now. It is in the talk in the boardroom everywhere. Now, what is happening in last 15 years, between 2005 and 2020-21, if you see the assets, those are being monitored, and the companies, those are committing for ESG requirement, has gone up drastically from merely 1 trillion. It has gone up to 90 trillion. That is the asset size, and more than 2,400 these institutions have committed that they will be investing only people in the company who are having ESG orientation. So this is a bigger funds to come for that. That is one challenge, is funds. Then your stakeholders, even the young people are not interested to work in a company who are not ESG oriented. Your suppliers are also concerned. Yes. So your activists are there. Government is bringing out a lot of things. So it is becoming compelling reasons for the businesses to wake up and take the extra miles, because they will be otherwise left behind. If the ESG orientation has to be there. So more than 400 this ESG assessment companies are there who are ratings, but the top ones, if you see MSCI, Dow Jones Sustainability, then you have Moody's. These ratings are really good. Actually, if you see MSCI, Morgan Stanley, they evaluate organization based on 36 parameters in the 3 social, environment, and governance parameters. So all parameters may not be applicable for all the business units. Supposing oil companies, there may be service-oriented companies which are applicable for that, they have decided. But definitely a greater part of that is there in the social areas, the safety of people, the payments, the board, even governance is also very, very important. Earlier, the payment of the top CEOs and average payment of the company used to be 1,400 times. Now that is coming down very much. Now it is very, very less. In India, maybe since we are CPSE, we are in the range of 7 to 8. Our CNMD will not be getting more than 7 times the average rates. So these are very good sin being, but there are companies where the differences is very high. So those are also parameters, measures, whether you have clawback, if you have not there, whether you can take back the money from the employees who have not performed. Then whether you have a board structure well, we have women participants, and we have independent directors. So those are governance aspects. In the environmental aspect, the safety aspects of this, payment aspects, equal opportunities, corruptions, all those things are also being monitored. So these are being taken from the voluntary as well as the mandatory reporting disclosures that is made by the company. In addition to that, they are scanning the media regularly. They are scanning the media, digital media, the newspapers, everything over a period of time, and based on that, they are changing your ratings. So maybe if there is a fire in one of the organizations and one person dies, your rating goes down. So these are the real measures. So if the organization has to mitigate their risk out of the financial investment that they're looking forward to, then possibly they'll have to work in ESG. So ESG is the main mantra now to follow. So that is very, very important.
So, see, I have seen the example you gave about Tata's, I have seen, I was in what is called Tata Steel now, earlier it was called Tisco in
Yeah.
Jamshedpur. So I was there and, during Mr. Rusi Modi's time, um, late Rusi Modi's time, and I saw that concern for employees and humanity and all of that, which was quite different than, other organizations in India. But what is making our companies go for sustainability? Is it only the regulation, or they're voluntarily doing it, or awareness, or foreign companies are, or their sort of corporate headquarters in abroad, or they are forcing? What actually is causing that initiative of sustainability in Indian companies?
See, in Indian companies, there are Indian companies. Some are there, the enlightened leaders. They force things and do. So one of the leaders, they have to envisage what is going to come, and then based on that, they have to preempt and do things. So, like if there is a company in Neste in Finland, they're the oil company again in the government sectors, but they have completely transformed themselves from oil to renewables. They have become the #1 sustainable company in the world. So they have envisaged it earlier, and they have been doing that. So now, see, if the voluntary things do not work, then you'll have to have mandatory. So as I was telling, the pressures are coming from all concerned. Your activists are creating problem because business are vilified, and sometimes maybe rightfully. If there is a lot of pollution, if you don't take care of the host community in terms of water and air pollutions, then maybe there is danger involved. So activists are also there, community is also there, pressure, statutory pressures are there, government is also doing, finance, the employees are also expecting that, your investors are expecting that. So there is nowhere to run now. So, but some of the organizations, they have already anticipated that, and they have traveled some distance. So others may be behind. So, but there are pressures from outside. But conscious leaders are always working towards forward-looking business drives.
Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Hopefully, I hope that, even other organizations will take it voluntarily, not wait for government regulation to be formed. So very, very nice. I mean, the enlightenment and especially hearing from some practitioner is very, very pleasing here, I mean, we have been reading a lot on sustainability. I think a lot of consultants who can talk about it, but, in reality, the practitioner talking about is very, very enlightening for us. So let me go to another segment of a personal journey that beginning from a school education. How did you end up here in this position, where you are currently right now?
If this is a very long story, and I would like to always talk about that because I get emotional when I talk about my school. I studied my school in a rural area where in a shed without any partitions, 4 classes used to run, and we will be carrying our rugs for sitting there because there is no table or chair in the school, no bench. Okay, so that is the way, so that is the way I have had my schooling. I have recently written an article about my school in my college, 125 the celebrations. It is fresh in my mind as to how we have done. So that was a great starting. So that is the starting of my school. It was great, but I still remember those things and the changes that has happened. And it was one of the great moment in my life when I could provide this entire table, chair, fan, cupboard, toilet, water facility in the school that I could complete sometime. And now, whatever I have gone through, the children don't have to go through that now. So that is one of the areas that makes me happy.
So happy to hear that. So happy. Then after that, you went for engineering, and then you went for, I mean, how did you land up here in sustainability?
Yeah. See, if you see that I have always listened to my father actually, but once I have not listened to him, and that is how I'm here actually. My father wanted me to study in Presidency College. You know that Presidency College, it has given 3 Nobel laureate, the last being Abhijit Banerjee. the Presidency College. So he wanted, it is a prestigious college, one of the best colleges, we must study there. So I joined there because it was very difficult to get through, but somehow I managed to join there. After a few days only, I thought that may not be the place for me. I must go for engineering. I thought it may be the Roji side. Engineering is a better prospect. I do not know whether I am wrong, whether I would have definitely charted a different path have I not been here. So that time, I don't know, listen, I become engineer. This is how I have come here actually. So I don't know whether I have done the right thing or wrong thing, but that is how I am here.
Great. So, can you talk about some aha moments which has given you a lot of happiness, which you still remember in your life, in your career? Anything that you would like to talk about, whether related to sustainability or not related to sustainability, whichever.
Yeah, I think if I look back, I had around 12 transfers in my career spanning across the country. And if I distinctly remember, even from first assignment, when I take up a new assignment, I always think what I can do differently than what has been done earlier. This is, and also what I can do which cannot be, copied or which cannot be replicated. So these two things always drives me to create something which is new, which has never been done earlier, and which nobody else will be able to do it. So believe me, this drive has created a lot of aha moment for me in most of the assignment. In everywhere something new has been done, and I still remember it has not been repeated. Like the first time, without a consultant, we have constructed a railway siding. Never in the history of the thing I has done. I headed that project and I only did that. Maybe the initial days in my first assignment, when there is no concept of this disaster management plan, DMP, comprehensive disaster management is not there. So that we decided that, we created that, and that was well accepted across the country. So some certain things, like I was in vigilance also, a small plan. So it's there also I have done certain things which have never been done and possibly cannot be done. So that is how those things create aha moment for me, and I always relish that. And when I look back, that gives me a lot of happiness.
So I see that you have been studying, even now. So you've been a lot of certifications, a lot of accreditations on your name. So how this education, certification, training, all that has helped you on the job, and or how much on the job learning really helped you?
Yeah, that is actually my organization is a learning organization. We call it a learning organization. So that gives a lot of opportunity to learn, and that creates atmosphere to learn. That is one aspect of that. As I am talking to you, I am also into many years courses. I am doing some other courses in that. Swedish government, one program of 9 months. That is doing it is a leadership development, value-based leadership development by Swedish government. So that I am in. They have selected some people from India, from Asia, around 35 people. I'm a part of that. So it is a continuous process that gives me, because I find that gives most happiness actually. If you learn a new ideas, if you learn a new thing, that gives more happiness to anything other than maybe the basic needs of life. So that keeps me driving, and that is what I enjoy also. That is.
So I think what is your, so I mean, you coming from such a humble background and you have risen to such a big position. What is your advice to our listeners, particularly the young ones? The important thing, firstly in general, then secondly, I would say advice to them about the supply chain sustainability career. Now, what are the opportunities in the future? What is going to be the opportunity for sustainability career, supply chain sustainability career, and how they can accelerate, how they can create the career in this area?
You see, the first thing I would advise all the people who want to make career, everybody should take a job or a career which they are good at. If you are not good at something, or if you are not able to make it up, then it is better to avoid that. That is, But people can say that at the beginner's time, how you can afford it when the jobs are scarce, it may not be possible. Okay, then also there are the one thing we have to always remember, that whether you will be able to make it up that gaps. So that is one of the things that you have to create, that what you like, what is your passion, what you can do, that only you'll take. Otherwise it will be difficult for succeeding there. Second thing is, in every aspects of your career, you'll have to create a brand. Creating brand is extremely important. So when I talk to people, we always try to find out what is his unique value propositions. He has to stand taller than others, because getting a job is very easy. Maintaining the job, rising there is extremely difficult, because there the challenges are multifaceted. They are all people are of your caliber. What differentiates you is because your passions, your determinations, and your trying to put your full efforts to position yourself at differently. So this is creating brand is extremely important. But we find, I am in a recruitment panel. I mean, Monday also we are there. We are selecting some chartered accountant. What we are trying to understand people, not who is very intelligent, not who is very knowledgeable, but we try to find out the right fit. If I take a very good person who may not fit to our culture, our way of thinking, it may not be a right place. So that's why finding a job which is to your requirement, to your fulfillment, that is also very important. So as somebody progresses that and that. And sustainability is a very wide. I have also last 10 years, 1 decade only, I'm in the CSR and sustainability area. But one thing I tell you, sustainability is so vast. Everybody can work here. Engineer, mathematician, even lawyer, advocates. If you say that, even commerce, science, all people have role to play in sustainability. Even the sustainability, legal aspects of sustainability is also picking up. Even the doctors also can generate in the area of sustainability and CSR. So CSR is sustainability is a vast area. People have space to work here. And some mathematical modeling, if somebody has to do, those are also other aspects of sustainability. Sustainability is so people should have a passion, real interest to work in this area. Then they'll be able to do better. But most importantly, we have to start with the end in mind. Anything, any person, anything, if you want to decide what you want to do and then start working, it is a great thing. Only delivery happens when that happens. If we are able to write our obituary, I think then we it is very difficult, but then we create whom we want ourselves to be. So that is the drive.
So do you have any particular path, any like certifications or exams, or if somebody wants to make career in sustainability, do you have any path that you can suggest them?
Yeah, sustainability is still new, but mostly people who are studying environment, they come to sustainability. But fortunately, I am Lucknow, TERI. There are some other institutes. They are giving MBA sustainability. In fact, we have also taken the MBA sustainability, many from TERI as well as from IIM. They are working as articles also. So those are aspects. But even environment is also a good area too. Mathematics is also a good area. You can do sustainability modeling. Even ESG rating system, a lot of people are required. People are, if you see, every out of 50 jobs, 25 will be related to sustainability, ESG rating, ESG monitoring, modeling, all those things are there. So a lot of jobs are coming in this space, and it will increase. Even finance people, a lot of finances are required. Last is TCFD, the Task Force of Climate-Related Financial Disclosure. That is becoming very hot now. That is again extension of ESG. So that is many people have started adopting that. In our country also, it will soon come. Without TCFD, again, these investments will not flow. So people that chartered accountants, MBA and finance, they are now working in the area of ESG financing. So it is a huge space. There are a lot of scopes in these areas.
I think the way the future, the sustainability is going to take a central role. There's a lot of opportunity in every aspect of sustainability, whether finance, supply chain, or whatever it is. So actually, I will stop my questions here, because I think the time is not much left, and there are a lot of questions, interesting questions people have asked. So I would hand it over to Nistush to ask the questions from participants. So thank you very much. I'll come back to you after Nistush finishes his part of asking questions.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much for handing over to me, and wonderful insights from you, Dr. Zakir. So I'll start taking the questions from the audience now. We have got a lot of questions there. Let me tell you that. So the first question is from squadron leader Mr. Vijay Kumar. He's asking, are the industries in India such not exploiting environment in the name of sustainability? Is it not a eyewash? How serious are government agencies on same?
Just the second part. Can you just come again? How is the
So he said, yeah, how serious are government agencies on the same?
See, government is taking a lot of moves. If you see the Ministry of Environment and Forest, they are taking a lot of actions. Our biannual reports are prepared. Those are very good things to go through. Then what are the developments that is happening in our country? But as I was telling, you'll have to create a balance. If you have to take care of our biocapacity and your biological footprint, if you see, those are the Earth Day is progressing in advancing it, because there is a lot of demand for consumption. So you cannot blame the organizations for only to utilizing the natural resources. Now, if somebody wants petrol and if he doesn't get petrol, what will happen? So we'll have to. It has to start in the marketplace. Now, business will deliver what the customer wants. If the customers tomorrow tell, I want organic food only, maybe the other food will not go. If the customers tells that I want only electric vehicle, then there will not be any demand. So customers is willing to pay that or not. That is another thing. Similar other thing is, yes, maybe all organizations are resource utilization is very higher. If you see the study, true value study is there. Top 3,000 companies in the world, they have destroyed it more than what they have created. Destroyed in terms of the environmental, the water, air, and the free things what we take from environment. The damage done to that, if you want to put it back in the original things, the profit they have made will not be sufficient to make it. So there is no denying to fact. There is no denying to the fact that business is creating damage, but the business is primarily for the sustenance of life. Now, business, if you see in last 200 years, what business has done, life expectancy has been increased from 30 to 72. Poverty has been almost eliminated. Now only 11% people are below poverty line. From 50 it was there. So everything is there. People are living in a democracy now. Earlier there was a rule of the land. Now 90s more people are literate. So all these things have happened because of industry. We know, but we will have to nurture. So we'll have to create a balance. Industries are exploiting maybe for the needs of the people. So it is both ways. So industry also has to take care of that, and then the users also have to take care of that. I always appreciate that Sachin Tendulkar told, I will use 1 bucket of water for taking bath. So how much of us, how much of we can take the resolve and stop saving water? So if that happens, then maybe we can do that. If there is an interesting story that in America, because of only hunger, 91,000 tons of plastics that every year it goes. Now, where these hangers are coming? It is the dry clothes, dry washing. After dry washing, they are coming with that. Earlier, we have never seen that the clothes you give for washing, it will come with a hanger. But now here also in Bombay, India also, you will be able to see that is happening. And now, not only that, the size of the hanger has increased from 16 to 18 because people are eating, they become obese. The hanger size has also increased. The demands of hanger has also increased. You needed hanger only for drying clothes. Now you are taking hangers when every time you are washing your clothes. So if the consumption has increased, so who has been held responsible? All of us are responsible. So it will be very unfair to vilify only the business and not to vilify ourselves who are responsible for a huge consumption. Consumption has to come down. Actually, we are in a saddle where if you get down, that is a problem. If you run, that also a problem. So
excellent point there, Dr. Zakir. Yeah. So agree to that. Right. So I'll go to the next question. It is from Mr. Venugopal. He says, Dr. Molla, while ESG's noble cause is appreciated, why businesses must be encouraged to adopt sustainable practices in the short to medium term. Beyond compliances aspect, is there any statistics available that a sustainable business has longer financial sustainability? Beyond the social commitment, what are the drivers for a CEO to consider ESG more actively in his or her business plans?
Yeah. Yes, very interesting questions. Many parts are there in that, but there are studies which have established that if a organization is inclined towards ESG, if a company is interested toward corporate social responsibility, their profitability also increases. Now, how it all happens? Now, if you are able to ESG takes care means who's you are taking care of. ESG means your stakeholders' expectation you are meeting. Once you have, so this stakeholder is whole lot of people who are the purpose of your business. So if they are happy, definitely they will take your products and services. So it is actually business case. So your ESG parameters will definitely guide yourself for saving your resources, saving your wastages, and causing less damage to the society and increasing your profitability. So it is a great business cause. You'll dive, but people are still becoming greedy. They think today's you can get all the eggs today by doing that. But that is why the rules are also coming. All countries are also enacting rules. But again, as I told you, the enlightened business leaders, they are already ahead of ESG in this thing, because it is a financial risk also. You have to mitigate, scan your risk, and the financial risk is also from your investors. So it is every all-encompassing activities that happens in the ESG, and it gives you real boost in all areas of your operations. Very simple things like if you save materials, you save money, you make profit. If you recycle your waste, you make more profit. If you take care of your employees, they deliver you better. If you take care of your customers, they do go for repeat purchase. If you take care of your vendor, they try to give you something better. So it is a great cause for profitability and value creation for the organizations.
Perfect. Great. So the next question, I'll move to the next question from Mr. Janardana. Does it mean EHS is replaced with sustainability? What is the focus from government for driving sustainability?
Yeah, that EHS is not replacing sustainability. Actually, EHS is a part of sustainability. Sustainability is actually this question. I was baffled with this question for last 1 decade.
I think again there is some technical issue.
Yes, I think there is a internet failure there. Thank you. Yeah, so I've just received a call from him, and he has said that there's been a breakdown again. So it's best that we close the episode at this point. I'll hand it over to Ravi sir for the closing notes of the episode and for the season, actually. And I would like to thank the audience for joining in for all the episodes. If you have missed any, please feel free to go onto our YouTube channel and see the recording. Over to you, Ravi sir.
So I wanted to thank you, Dr. Zakir Mullah, personally, but I think he is not connected with us. And it's been very interesting. We have been able to get some of the good speakers, and I think a lot of people have joined, and there's a lot of interest when we see on the YouTube channel. Many people have been listening and appreciating. We're getting a lot of good remarks from people, good feedback from people, and a request that we continue this journey. So I think we will do that. I think we have covered a lot of topics in 2 seasons. So I think we have covered most of it, and therefore we would like to do a survey for what people would like to hear on, and that's going to be and that is going to shape our third season, in fact. So based on your feedback, so your feedback is very important. I would like to thank all the participants also who have joined all the time, and give us a lot of support, encouragement, questions, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much, everyone. And I would like to close the session here and have a very nice weekend and have a very safe weekend and very safe future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.